Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves for Namibia in the final leg of his 5-nation visit to hold bilateral talks with President Nadi-Ndaitwah. Visit aims to deepen ties between India and Namibia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Brazil's President Lula da Silva unite in condemning terrorism in all its forms. Prime Minister Modi calls for zero tolerance and zero double standards on terrorism. Prime Minister conferred with Brazil's highest honor. India-Brazil sign agreements on cooperation on renewable energy, digital solutions, also strengthen fight against international terrorism. Trump says steep copper tariffs in store as he broadens his trade war to also introduce levies on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals soon. No extension to August deadline. Investigation underway after imposter using artificial intelligence poses as Marco Rubio contacts 3 foreign ministers, 2 US politicians. State Department says taking steps to improve its cybersecurity defenses. And the catastrophic flash floods in Texas claims 109 lives as search operations continue to find over 161 missing people amid more rain forecast. And on to the details now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday left for Namibia after concluding his 2-day productive visit to Brazil. In the final leg of his 5-nation visit, Prime Minister Modi will be in the capital Windhoek, during which he will hold bilateral talks with President Nadi-Ndaitwah. Prime Minister will also pay homage to the founding father and first president of Namibia, late Dr. Sam Nujoma. He is also expected to deliver an address at the Parliament of Namibia.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Namibia in what is seen as a historic moment when it comes to the ties between both the countries. This is the third ever prime ministerial visit happening after a gap of 27 years. Both India and Namibia have historical linkages, with India raising the matter of Namibia's independence in the year 1946 at the United Nations General Assembly. This visit by the Prime Minister will certainly open new areas of cooperation and will also strengthen the bilateral ties between both the countries.
India and Namibia share a bond forged in the struggle for freedom and nurtured through decades of partnership. India was among the first countries to support Namibia's liberation movement and to establish diplomatic ties after its independence in 1990. Over the years, the relationship between both the countries has grown through development partnerships, capacity building under the ITEC program, trade in minerals and pharmaceuticals, and a unique wildlife collaboration, the historic translocation of cheetahs from Namibia to India.
Namibia is rich in critical minerals, rare earths, and is also keen to engage with India in the field of agriculture and pharma. And in fact, in recent times, Namibia has discovered oil fields. And with this visit by the Prime Minister, it is also expected that a brief discussion on partnership when it comes to hydrocarbons will be there.
Prime Minister Modi's visit is expected to unlock new opportunities in areas such as hydrocarbons, rare earth minerals, education and health, among others. It also signals India's strong commitment to the global south. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold wide-ranging talks with Namibia's President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, the country's first woman head of state. A number of bilateral agreements are likely to be signed, with focus on energy, innovation and youth engagement. As India expands its footprint across Africa, this visit is both strategic and symbolic. reinforcing the values of equality, mutual respect, and shared development under the spirit of South-South cooperation. All eyes are now on Windhoek, as India and Namibia prepare to script a chapter in their vibrant partnership.
The relationship between India and Namibia has flourished over the years. And this indeed will be a significant visit by the Prime Minister, which will strengthen the ties between both the countries and will also open a new pathway when it comes to other areas of cooperation.
And in Brazilian capital of Brasilia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was bestowed with a grand collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross. This is Brazil's highest honor, which is awarded exclusively to foreign nationals as a symbol of friendship and respect. Prime Minister Modi expressed his heartfelt gratitude to the President, the government and the people of Brazil for the distinguished honor. Accepting the award, he noted that the honor was a tribute to the 1.4 billion people of India and to the enduring bonds of friendship between India and Brazil.
आज राष्ट्रपति जी द्वारा मुझे ब्राजील के सर्वोच्च राष्ट्रीय सम्मान से विभूषित किया जाना मेरे लिए ही नहीं बल्कि 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों के लिए भी अत्यंत गर्व और भावुकता का पल है। मैं इसके लिए उनका, ब्राजील सरकार और ब्राजील के लोगों का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
Well, the decoration features a white star bearing the Southern Cross constellation, an important national symbol framed by coffee and tobacco branches, which represents Brazil's heritage. With this honor, Prime Minister Modi now has been bestowed with 26 such global recognitions. And earlier in Brasilia, Prime Minister Modi held fruitful delegation-level talks with President Lula da Silva. The talks included ways to deepen trade ties and also diversify bilateral trade. Both the leaders agreed that there is immense scope for such linkages to thrive in the coming times. Clean energy, sustainable development and overcoming climate change were also prominent topics of discussion in the talks. Other areas where we will work even more closely include defense, security, AI and agriculture. Well, India-Brazil cooperation in space, semiconductors and DPI will benefit our people. And later, addressing a joint press meet with President Lula, Prime Minister Modi said India and Brazil have decided to achieve ambitious goal of increasing bilateral trade to $20 billion within the next 5 years. Prime Minister Modi said that agreement has been finalized to expand cooperation in areas of security, clean energy and UPI.
हम अपने रक्षा उद्योगों को आपस में जोड़ने के प्रयास जारी रखेंगे। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और सुपर कंप्यूटर में हमारा सहयोग बढ़ रहा है। यह समावेशी विकास और ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक इनोवेशन की हमारी एक जैसी सोच का प्रमाण है। ब्राजील में यूपीआई के एडॉप्शन पर भी दोनों पक्ष मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं।
Well, Prime Minister Modi also stressed that partnership between India and Brazil serves as a vital pillar of stability and balance. Prime Minister Modi added that with growing tension and uncertainty, we firmly believe in zero tolerance policy against terrorism.
हम एकमत है कि सभी विवादों का समाधान डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी के माध्यम से होना चाहिए। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ लड़ाई पर हमारी सोच समान है। जीरो टॉलरेंस एंड जीरो डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स। हमारा स्पष्ट मत है कि आतंकवाद पर दोहरे मापदंडों का कोई स्थान नहीं है। हम आतंकवाद और आतंकवाद के समर्थकों का कठोर विरोध करते हैं।
Both sides also exchanged key agreements, including MoUs signed on combating international terrorism and transnational organized crime. Other agreements signed are in the fields of renewable energy, as well as sharing digital solutions, cooperation in the field of intellectual property. MoU was also signed between the Indian Council of Agricultural Research and the Brazilian Agricultural Research Cooperation for cooperation in agricultural research, and an agreement has been signed on the exchange and mutual protection of classified information.
After the delegation level talks, there was a signing and exchange of MoUs and agreements. 3 agreements were signed today and exchanged in front of the President and the Prime Minister. These were the agreement on cooperation in combating international terrorism and transnational organized crime, an MoU on cooperation for the sharing of successful large-scale digital solutions for digital transformation, MoU on cooperation in renewable energy. 3 more agreements are ready to be signed and will be signed later today. These include an MoU on agricultural research between the concerned bodies on 2 sides, agreement on the exchange and mutual protection of classified information, and an MoU for cooperation in the field of intellectual property.
Well, later in a special press briefing on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Brazil visit, India's Minister of External Affairs Secretary P. Kumaran mentioned that on security and terrorism, the Prime Minister Modi thanked President Lula for expressing firm condemnation and extending support and solidarity to the people of India in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack on the 22nd of April that killed 26 innocent citizens.
On security and terrorism, the Prime Minister thanked President Lula for expressing firm condemnation and extending support and solidarity to the people of India in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack on the 22nd of April that killed 26 innocent citizens. The Prime Minister also reaffirmed that India stands firm in its resolve to fight terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. President Lula expressed his full support in the fight against the menace of terrorism.
And moving on now, India's National Investigation Agency on Tuesday arrested 3 persons following extensive searches in 2 districts of Karnataka and the Lashkar-e-Taiba terror group's prison radicalization case of 2023. Well, the searches were conducted at 5 locations in Bangalore and Kolar district of the state, leading to the arrest of a prison psychiatrist, a city armed reserve policeman, and mother of an absconding accused. Also, during the searches, various digital devices, cash, gold, and incriminating documents were seized from the houses of the arrested accused and other suspects. The case relates to the recovery of arms, ammunition, explosives, and digital devices, including 2 walkie-talkies from habitual offenders who were conspiring to unleash terror activities in Bangalore city with the aim of furthering the nefarious agenda of the proscribed terrorist organization Lashkar-e-Taiba. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Macron urges UK-France must unite to protect global order in his address to the British Parliament. Wildfire reaches outskirts of Marseilles as firefighters battle blaze through the night. And in sports, Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka booked their spots in the Final Four.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Arey, it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Vipakshi Khurana, and moving on. U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday met for a second time in 2 days with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss Gaza. The Israeli leader departed the White House on Tuesday evening after just over an hour's meeting with Trump in the Oval Office with no press access. The two leaders also met for several hours at a dinner at the White House on Monday as part of Netanyahu's third U.S. visit since the president began his second term on January 20th. Well, the meeting comes after Trump's Middle East envoy, Stephen Witkoff, said Israel and Hamas could be close to agreeing on a 60-day ceasefire deal. Earlier on Tuesday, Netanyahu met with Vice President J.D. Vance. President Trump said on Tuesday that former Dow chief Elon Musk's planned America Party will help us. More than a month after their initial social media bluster, Musk has announced the formation of a new U.S. political party in response to Trump signing his sweeping tax and spending bill into law.
And can I follow up? This is, I think, the first cabinet meeting since Elon Musk has not been a special government employee, not here anymore. He's now saying he's going to create a third political party. Are you worried about the impact that that could have?
No, I think it'll help us. It'll probably help. Third parties have always been good for me. I don't know about Republicans, but for me.
And in a stunning breach of trust and technology, a bold impersonation has rocked diplomatic circles. An unknown individual posed as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio using an artificially generated voice to deceive high-ranking officials. The impersonator managed to contact 3 foreign ministers and 2 U.S. officials, all in a single month. It all began in mid-June. The impersonator reached out via the Signal messaging app, even leaving voicemails for at least 2 targets. One foreign minister reportedly received a text message invitation urging them to move the conversation onto Signal, an app favored for its encrypted communications. The U.S. State Department has confirmed it is aware and actively addressing the matter. A confidential cable dated July 3rd was sent to all diplomatic and consular posts, urging staff to alert partners to the increasing threat of fake accounts and AI-driven impersonations. This breach is a stark reminder of the evolving threat landscape where voices can be cloned, trust can be manipulated, and diplomacy itself is vulnerable.
The State Department, of course, is aware of this incident and is currently monitoring and addressing the matter. The department takes seriously its responsibility to safeguard its information. The State Department, of course, when we think about the reports that have occurred, and the details that we would like to provide become problematic, obviously, when it comes to investigations and the nature of the actions that we're taking.
Well, Britain and France must work together to protect the international order, French President Emmanuel Macron said in an address to the British Parliament on Tuesday. The French leader was welcomed to Britain by King Charles on Tuesday for the first state visit by European leaders since Brexit, their warm greeting symbolizing the return of closer ties between the two countries.
The United Kingdom and France must once again show the world that our alliance can make all the difference. Clearly, we have to work together in order to defend an efficient multilateralism and to protect the international order as we fought it after the Second World War.
And moving on, the death toll from the July 4th flash flood that struck central Texas has now climbed to at least 109 people and 180 others were known to be missing. Texas Governor Greg Abbott toured the devastation from the flash flood on Tuesday. Search and rescue teams are wading through mud-piled riverbanks as more rain and thunderstorms threaten the region, but hope was fading of finding any more survivors 4 days after the catastrophe. In a press conference from Kerr County, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, the bodies of 94 flood victims, more than a third of them children, have been recovered in Kerr County alone.
The numbers that I have is that there are 94 fatalities. 94 fatalities associated with this flooding event in this area. Separate from that, in other flooding events in other parts of the state of Texas, there's another 15 fatalities for a total of 109. To put this into perspective, just in the Kerr and Kendall counties alone, there are far more fatalities than there were in Hurricane Harvey. That's how catastrophic this is. Just in the Kerr County area alone, there are 161 people who are known to be missing.
Meanwhile, satellite images released show parts of central Texas and Guadalupe River before and after deadly floods swept the region last weekend. Reports from local sheriffs and media have put the number of flood deaths outside Kerr County at 22. Also, dense smoke darkened the sky above a residential area in Marseilles as flames burnt through hillside vegetation and moved closer to homes and buildings on Tuesday. More than 100 people have been injured in a fast-moving wildfire that has reached the outer edge of Marseille, France's second-largest city. Hundreds of firefighters battled a fast-moving wildfire that reached the outskirts of the southern French city, forcing people to stay indoors and the nearby airport to close. Well, Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau, during a Tuesday visit to firefighters in the region, said the fire could be contained overnight if winds weaken as expected. And on to some business news now. U.S. President Donald Trump said he will announce a 50% tariff on copper after having implemented similar duties on steel and aluminium. Trump also said he's planning to impose tariffs on imported semiconductors and pharmaceuticals, with medicine tariffs potentially reaching 200%. However, he said truck makers would be given about a year to get their act together, reiterating his threat of a 10% tariff on bricks. Trump said the bloc was not a serious grouping, but acknowledged that it is challenging the U.S. dollar.
Ones we did steel, as you know, they're 50%. We did aluminum, 50%. Lumber just came out.
Why shouldn't that's copper?
And we did cars. And now, today we're doing copper.
Copper and lumber. What would that tariff be on? The sectional tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
50%.
Well, after Trump spoke, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that the copper tariffs would likely be put in place by the end of July or August 1st. Lutnick added that their investigations on copper under Section 232 are complete and their observations have been submitted to the President. The deadline for the investigation to conclude is in November. And copper prices surged to all-time high after Trump said he plans to levy tariffs on the red metal, which came earlier than the industry had expected, and the rate was steeper. Copper futures in New York jumped as much as 15% and hit a record of $5.68 per pound. Copper prices have soared 38% this year as Trump's tariffs are set to hike the cost of importing the metal, a reflection of stockpiling to get ahead of tariffs. Countries said to be most affected by any new U.S. copper tariff would be Chile, Canada and Mexico, which were the top suppliers to the U.S. of refined copper, copper alloys and copper products in 2024. Chile, Canada and Peru, three of the largest copper suppliers to the U.S., have told the administration that imports from their countries do not threaten U.S. interest and should not face tariffs. All three have free trade deals with the U.S. And on to some sports news now. Defending champion Carlos Alcaraz produced a centre court masterclass to reach his third straight Wimbledon semi-final, dismantling Britain's Cameron Norrie in straight sets on Tuesday. After a patchy run to the last 8, the Spanish second seed rediscovered top form, firing 39 winners to set up a semi-final clash with American fifth seed Taylor Fritz. Meanwhile, Taylor Fritz defeated Karen Khachanov to reach his first Wimbledon semi-final. In women's single, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka survived a scare to reach the Wimbledon semi-finals with a hard-fought victory over Germany's Laura Seichmann. American Amanda Anisimova also booked her first Wimbledon semi-final spot, beating Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.